If you missed Apple's spring-loaded event, the iPad Pro just got supercharged with the M1 chip that we saw in the Mac Mini, the MacBook Air and Pro, and what's coming to the new iMac. Now, this new chip promises a big jump in performance, and iPadOS is already built to take advantage of the M1 chip architecture. So when you're working with different resource-intensive apps, the M1 chip is going to provide you with a lot more power than what you had before. But did they really just compare it to the original iPad? Like, they showed it was 75 times faster than the first iPad, like not even the first iPad Pro, but the first iPad, that's what they chose? When we were talking about the GPU, they showed that it was like 1,500 times faster, like graphic-wise, than the original iPad. Again, that's our point of reference. That's like when they still compare the space shuttle, they give it to you in horsepower, it's like 7 trillion horsepower. Like, I think we need to find a different unit of measurement, but that's funny. Apple usually has these graphics during the event. I get it, it's faster, it's better. I love the M1 chip. I just thought it was a funny point of reference. Of course, for augmented reality and things like that, that's gonna be an excellent option. So if that's something that you do, you'll definitely benefit from this new chip. They also mentioned the fact that it's now compatible with both PlayStation and Xbox controllers. So if you're playing games that can take advantage of those controllers, that's pretty sweet, and you're actually getting haptic feedback. Another area where there is an improvement in speed is the storage. So the storage on the new iPad Pro, the 2021 iPad Pro, I guess it's like the 5th generation, is said to be 2 times faster than the one on the 2020 iPad Pro. On top of that, it's not just faster, but they actually increased the maximum capacity of the internal SSD up to 2 terabytes. So if you're someone who couldn't do enough with 1 terabyte, like maybe you're editing a lot of 4K footage, and as we know, you need to have that footage on the iPad in order to edit it because you can't work off of external drives, that's something that could definitely benefit you. And speaking of moving a lot of data from an SSD to the iPad, the USB-C is now upgraded to a Thunderbolt/USB 4 port. So now you're getting speeds of up to 4 gigabits per second, which is just crazy. Now, on top of this added speed, we can also use more powerful accessories like even faster SSDs and the XDR display at up to 6K. Like, for me, I think that the speed improvement is good, and I like the fact that there is a higher capacity SSD on the iPad, but what would really make it a more powerful tool for video editing, for example, which is a lot of what I do, would be an iPadOS upgrade that would let me work off of files that are on an external SSD rather than having to move them onto the iPad. That would be something that I would love. Next, we've got some improvements as far as cameras. And if you watch some of my other iPads or really any tablet review that I do, I'm not a huge fan of the cameras on the tablets because I don't really use them. It's not that they're necessarily bad. I mean, they are usually bad, but even when they're good, I'm gonna always reach for my phone to take a picture rather than an iPad. But the new iPad Pro has an awesome feature on the FaceTime, the front-facing true depth camera. So now it's an ultra-wide 12 megapixel camera. So of course you still have Face ID, but they have this thing called center stage. And basically what it does is it detects you like where you are in the frame. So let's say you're on a video call, and it's able to zoom in so it's perfectly framing you, like as if you have like a camera person behind the camera. And let's say you move from the center to the right, it's gonna change the field of view, it's gonna make it wider, and then as you get closer, it's gonna go ahead and zoom in on you so you're always perfectly framed. Then they have this thing where if another person comes into the frame, the AI on the iPad detects this other person, and they're gonna go ahead and make the frame wide enough to include that person. So they show like a dad and a daughter, and when the dad was alone, the camera was focused on him, but then as soon as the daughter came into the frame, it kind of expanded the frame to include her as well. So that's something that's gonna be pretty sweet. A lot of us are doing a lot of video calls. FaceTime is awesome. So that's actually a feature that I was really excited about. It's hard to get me excited. Like, I love cameras. I have so many cameras, but it's hard to get me excited about iPad cameras. But they did it. All right, so then I'm continuing to watch the event and I'm like, okay, well, like, did they do anything to the display? It looks a little bit different, but I mean, it's a render, you can't ever really tell. Well, they did. We now have a Liquid Retina XDR display. So we've got mini LEDs. I think there's like 10,000 mini LEDs. And Apple says they're 120 times smaller than the previous generation. I don't know what they're comparing it to, but great, they're small. And they're organized in a little bit under 2,600 local dimming zones. And then there's like optical films and diffusers on top of it that mix the lights so that you're able to keep the device really thin and still get very high brightness, great contrast, and the image quality should be absolutely outstanding. We've got 1000 nits for full screen and 1600 nits peak, and that's I think when they're doing HDR, and we've got 1000:1 contrast ratio. Of course, it's still a ProMotion display, so you're getting Apple's adaptive 120 Hz refresh rate. Basically, it detects the type of content that's being displayed, and then it decides whether you need to be at 100 or if it can display it at a lower frame rate so that you're preserving battery life. And if you haven't used 120 Hz, it's really noticeable even when you're just using the UI. So even when you're just opening and closing apps, you definitely notice that all the transitions are a lot smoother, because if you're comparing it to 60, it's like an extra frame. So the movement, instead of something skipping from like here to here, you see it move from here to here to here. Well, you don't really see it, but that's why it appears to be smoother. And you still have 120 Hz adaptive refresh on the 2020 model, but now with the new XDR, I can't wait to see it. Now, one thing I want to point out is that this new upgraded display is only available on the new 12.9 inch model. So the new 11-inch model will still get the M1 chip and those upgrades, but it's not getting a new display, so you're still getting a Liquid Retina display. All right, then we move on to connectivity, and they added 5G support to the new iPad Pro, which some people are gonna like. Like for me, I don't ever use my iPad with cell service. So if I'm not on Wi-Fi, which I am like 99% of the time, but if I'm not, then I'm just tethering off of my iPhone. So I wouldn't really use 5G, but if you're someone that's going to be on the road, if you're on the go, and if you need access to that bandwidth and it's available in your area, that's a nice feature to have. Now, as far as just Wi-Fi, it's Wi-Fi 6 compatible, of course, so you're getting the fastest speeds available. And that's something that I definitely take advantage of at home. We've got the Orbi Wi-Fi 6 network here, and we've got fiber, so it's super fast. And now with that network, it covers our whole house. It's awesome. So that's nice to have. And again, it's something that we had before, but yeah, Wi-Fi 6. Now the speaker system is going to still be amazing. It's the same one that we see on the 2020 iPad Pro. If you haven't heard it, it's definitely like the iPad Air 4 is better than the iPad 8. And that leap, like when you move then to the iPad Pro, you definitely hear it. Like as soon as you just play anything, games, or even just watching video or content, the sound is amazing, and we've got support for Dolby Atmos. Now looking at the prices, the 11-inch starts at $799, and then the 12.9 inch is $100 more than the 2020 model, so it starts at $1099 and goes all the way up to $2199 if you want that 2 terabyte model. $2199 for an iPad Pro. I don't know that I could do that. Can you do that? I'm definitely getting the new iPad though, just not the 2 terabyte model. I can't wait to order. We can start ordering on April 30th, and then they should be available in the second half of May. So I don't know what that means. I didn't give a date, but second half of May. One other thing before you leave, they didn't end it there. They sort of just dropped it like it was nothing. And they're like, oh, by the way, we also have a new Magic Keyboard in white. Okay, goodbye. Wait, what? Yep, new Magic Keyboard in white. Looks pretty sweet. Like I have them in black, and like after a while there's like wear and tear, and it kind of gets dirty. I don't know if the white might get dirty differently. I kind of want it in white. I don't know if I can spend another $350 on it, but it looks pretty sweet. I'll probably get one. I don't know, stop pressuring me. Fine, I'll get one. You convinced me, I'm getting one. Let me know what you thought of the event. Hopefully you enjoyed this video. Click on my face to subscribe and then watch one of these videos. You know what I always say? Buy it nice or buy it twice. Good luck and see you soon.